Hi, I am Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this is the series called uh, Dilemmas of a Small Business Guru. And I call it that because every one of us is on the path to being a master at running our business so that we're successful and fulfillment in the way that we choose to be successful and fulfilled. And to me, that's on the path of being a guru. So it's kind of a fun way of working with this process of developing ourselves as business owners, as entrepreneurs and visionaries. Today, I'm speaking with Alex Grindelind. Hi,
Grindelind,
Alex.
that works.
Grindelind.
Hello.
Hello. So, Alex, tell us the name of your business, your website, and tell us what you do for a living. What's your business?
Yeah, absolutely. The name of my business is CSZ Seattle. We're the home of comedy sports. And that is our main show. So we have a theater in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle. It's about a 70-seat theater. Every weekend, every Friday and Saturday and Sundays, we have a matinee of a performance called Comedy Sports, which is two teams of comedians, a referee, and they're competing to be the funnier team. The audience gives suggestions, so the audience really kind of steers the ship of the show, and then the players, the performers, are reacting to whatever the audience gives them, and they have to spin it into comedy gold. It's a really super interactive show. It's a fast-paced show. It's a competition, and it's an all-ages show. It's a show for everyone, is what we like to say. So we do that, and then that's our kind of our product that is at the center of everything that CSZ Seattle does. But we also do event entertainment. So if somebody's having a work party or something that needs some entertainment, oftentimes it's an office party that needs some clean comedy, or we've done events from as few as 10 people in the audience to as many as, and I mean, this upcoming month we have an event where we're performing for an audience of 5,000 people.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
it's the nice thing about, so we call that our road shows, and our road shows is a very it's a lot more options in terms of what we can offer. We can it can scale quite a bit. And then in addition to our road shows, we do two other things. We do communications workshops using the skills of what we call applied improvisation. So in other words, the set of skills a person would use to perform a show for an audience and make it look like a clean, polished, finished product. That same set of, and all the communication skills that goes along with doing that between the performers, all of those skills apply to the life and the workplace, because it's really about being prepared for whatever comes at you and being fluid like water. And additionally, we teach improv comedy classes. We have Improv Comedy 101, 201, 301, which leads into our Comedy Sports Recreational League, which is one of the ways that we draft new talent for our main show on Fridays and Saturday nights.
Awesome. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what does the CSZ stand for?
I mean, CSZ is our shorthand for Comedy Sports. But the reason that the company is CSZ, because Comedy Sports, capital C, capital S, lowercase z.
Okay.
But the reason that the company is CSZ is it allows us, without saying, because Comedy Sports is always an all ages, family friendly show. Okay. But we might say something like CSZ Seattle presents the Blue Show, and the Blue Show is an adults only show, where the content is not all ages, family friendly.
Got it.
So we can do other shows that are not Comedy Sports, and still offer them through the same organization.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you. One of the things that I so appreciate about doing these interviews with different people is it's fascinating to hear all the different ways that people have businesses, in a sense, what the products and services are that people are offering in the world. It's just so wonderful. So thank you for being with me, and thank you for offering what you're doing on so many levels.
Well, thank you.
So Alex, as a business person who has taken Comedy Sports to this level, tell me about that moment where you said, okay, we're going to go and make this actually a business, as opposed to a hobby or something fun. What was that moment like for you when you made that choice?
Well, I'll give you a little background. After I graduated, so I got a degree in 2008 in theater education because I knew I liked teaching people theater and I liked performing theater. So the two things worked well together. For 3 years after college, I taught high school theater. I basically developed a theater program at a school that didn't have one. And that was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And at that same time, I had been drafted onto the pro comedy sports team in Milwaukee. So in Milwaukee, that's the original comedy sports, and their facility is, it'll put you in awe. It's a 200-seat arena with a full bar and restaurant, and they have another smaller 100-seat theater. It's sort of here in Seattle, we have our 70-seat theater with a bar with beer and wine. So it's a very different scale. But in any case, I was teaching high school theater, and I knew that I just wanted to be my own boss, I guess. It's not that I've always gotten along with my bosses in my different jobs. When I was a high school teacher, I got along very well with my principal, but there was something about having a boss that just wasn't my thing,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I got that urge or instinct from my dad. He started a business when I was very young. And I also knew that I didn't want to live in Wisconsin forever. I'm nothing against Wisconsin. I love it there. It's just too cold. It's just too cold.
Yes.
So I moved to what I considered to be a tropical paradise of Seattle.
Woohoo!
So what that moment was like for me was, I would say that I was pretty confident in my abilities. So I know that a lot of entrepreneurs probably have a lot of anxiety, and I certainly had anxiety. But after teaching high school for 3 years and realizing that in so many different leadership positions, the hardest thing is just personality management, and that I was pretty good at personality management.
Yes.
Because certainly going from teaching emotional high school kids to being a guy who organizes comedians is not all that different. So I felt like I had the skills, and I just decided that it was going to be a learn as I go process.
Great.
So obviously I'd never run a business.
Right. So one of the things that Alex and I talked about as we were sort of talking about this interview, is that you, Alex, are in the process of developing a new arm of your program, and that's kind of a scary adventure.
Mm-hmm.
That you're in. Talk a little bit about what that's like to be in that place of, I want to develop this, and whatever else that and is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the arm of my business we're talking about developing is the applied improv arm, the workshops, the bringing the improv out to businesses and teaching the communication skills of improvisation and yes and to engineers or managers and that sort. And that's that part of our business is growing. It's kind of nascent right now still, but it's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I was left to my own devices. So I had a friend move out here to help me with that, and he's the roadshow manager now, and he's the roadshow and applied improvisation manager. So he's helping me a lot with those things. When it was just me running everything, it's like, well, I'm managing a theater, and I'm doing all the scheduling, and I'm doing all the ordering for the bar. It was just a lot to take on, to think, oh, I'm also going to extend the education wing of our company. So I knew I needed help, and it just was, one of the things you and I talked about was sometimes a new task is daunting, and it's easier to tread in territory where you've been.
Yes.
And I had at that point, let's say that a year ago is when I made the moves I needed to make in order to really grow that wing of that arm of the business. Before that time, it was just either seemed easier, or it seemed like there were just things that were always higher priority
mm-hmm.
than going off into no man's land where I've never been.
Yes. And I think that's a really, really good point, because I think all of us are facing that place of, here's the tasks that need to be done: ordering wine and beverages, setting up the auditorium, all of those kinds of scheduling aspects. And then here's this, oh, let's develop this. And part of the dilemma is, how do we decide where does this come in? A friend of mine talks about Mr. Sticks and Plates, which is so many of us business people are keeping all these plates in the air. This is like the stick, and then moving.
Yeah, we're keeping the plates spinning.
Keeping the plate spinning, and now you're going to add another plate, and how do you do that? You know, and is it like, well, and you know, do I go, like you said the other day when we were talking? It's like, well, I think I'll just go wash the van, because that needs to be done, and I'm really good at that. That gives us a sense of, in a sense, a sense of completion. Like we're getting stuff done, and as well as the ordering and the managing and making sure the comedians are going to show up and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say that, to that point, that it's the things that seem so daunting, or the big unknowns, maybe.
Yes.
Are you and I were talking the other day, like, so just those things being there, you know, in the back of your mind, can motivate you to do the things that you would otherwise not find yourself motivated to do. You know, like, I would not always find myself motivated to clean the company van if it wasn't for the fact that I was having to do something in order to avoid learning, you know, like, what the best marketing solutions are to reach out to companies that are in need of some kind of team building or communications training.
Yes.
You know, like, that's a whole big thing.
And it's brilliant to put it that way. It's like, in the avoiding of this, I get to take care of the things that I have also been avoiding and need to be done. And so quite often our days are filled with what am I going to get done while I'm avoiding getting things done.
Yeah.
And, I mean, really, that's what a lot of us are doing.
People always ask me, you know, they say, what do you do during the day? You know, like, what is your job like? And I never have a good answer for that, because I'm like, well, probably what'll happen is I'll start working on next month's schedule, and then I'll realize that there's something that needs to be solved today regarding our email campaigns, because something in the back end is broken, so I'll have to spend like 4 hours on that, and then I'll go back to the schedule and then be tired, and you know, so it's what, you know, every day is different.
Yeah, and again, in terms of this series being being a place where we're exposing, if you will, the everyday life of a small business guru, it's like, that's what it's like. There's no, I mean, when you are able to hire, like you did, your friend has come on as this partner of yours who's working with you to take care of business, the business strategies that need to be done over here, that gives you more opportunity to do more of what you need to do.
Right.
I'm not sure if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, I mean, certainly one of the things I knew I needed to do after 3 years of running, almost 4 years of running the company, you know, by myself, was one of the things I knew I needed to do was to give myself a night off, a guaranteed night off, once, you know, at least once a week. And with my friend moving out here and me realizing, oh, he's looking for opportunities to you know, to make money, and so I can just pay him to do a thing one night a week, so that I can guarantee myself that I have that night of the week off.
Yes.
So it's important, I think, that when you look at your big task list, to be able to, you know, turn it off sometimes. Yeah,
it's an element of, for all of us, that it's just another one of those things, and we've talked about that in one of the other themes of one of the interviews that we've done, about that place of life and work balance, and what is it I really want, and what's really important to me in that life balance. But in sometimes it's what I want, but it's also that part that you're talking about. It's like what you need. And I think you mentioned the other day that sometimes you forget to eat because you're so so immersed in what needs to get done and what's got your focus, that you forget about you that needs to get fueled to keep this
Get
going.
fed.
Yeah.
I mean, and that happened more in the first couple of years than it does now, but it still happens sometimes now, where I would just because when I first started, I was also working a full-time job and getting this company off the ground, and I transitioned out of that full-time job into a three-fourths of the time job to a half-time job to a and until I realized that the company was strong enough that I could support myself on it. But it was at that time when I had all my 8 hours of commitment over here or more, and then in my spare time, and just feeling guilty anytime I wasn't accomplishing something, that I would just forget to eat.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. This place of I felt guilty, and it kept me motivated. To just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I call that the fear. And in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have the fear, and you have to be impatient. People talk about, I remember taking a business class where they were talking about, what are the qualities of a successful entrepreneur? And somebody suggested in the class that maybe, patience is a good quality. And the guy running the class was like, actually, no, all the research shows that successful entrepreneurs are incredibly impatient people. And I think that impatience, what is impatience? It's an anxiety of not accomplishing right now. And so that's what I call the fear. Like, I want to be able to eat, but I want to be able to not just eat. I want to be able to, live a life that's not completely work all the time. In order to get there, I need to work all the time. That's what I mean. For example, I remember telling my friend, Dave is his name. He's the road show manager when he came out here. And this is the first time that he's been freelance in this way. He's always worked for a company, and now he is really largely motivated by himself. But I just know that he's going to be successful, and he's going to grow that end of the business because he has the fear. He's nervous and stressed out about making sure that things work, and that what that turns into is him going above and beyond for our clients. That's the motivating factor, is the fear. So it's good and it's bad.
Yeah, because is it possible? For me as a transformational life coach, I come from that perspective of, do you have to live by fear in order to be successful? And what would life be for those entrepreneurs to come from a place other than fear?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's probably a healthier mindset. If you can find yourself motivated by positive factors. I mean, certainly I wouldn't have decided to go into the lucrative business of improv comedy.
Yes.
If I wasn't motivated by positive factors, like my love for performing and for comedy sports and for making people laugh, and for the kind of people that are drawn to improv.
Yes.
But it's a double-edged sword, I guess.
Yes. And that's again the element of this dilemma of a small business guru is like, what's my frame of reference? What's my model from which I'm working? And that element of most of us start our business because we're inspired and we're excited and we have a passion about something that we want to bring into the world. That's whether it's a woman or a man who does hairstyling or decorates cakes. It doesn't matter, as we have an expression of self that wants to be in the world in a particular way. And that's the excitement and the making that happen. And at the same time, there's the how did you put it? The yes and? Yes. And there's this part that says, what if I don't get it done? What if it's not on time? What if I can't fill in the blanks? And that what if we think is what inspires the motivation to keep going. And I'm wanting to sort of question that and say, is that necessary, that we have to have the fear element as opposed to I'm dedicated enough that I'm going to make that happen without the guilt or without the fear.
I think that when people are in the throes of accomplishing something they want to accomplish, that it's a weird, it's a joyful mental state to be in, right?
Yes,
So it's like
yes,
truly that it's sort of an exhilarating high to be, getting it done, doing the
yes,
thing.
yes,
And I think that I don't remember exactly where I heard this, but like it's people go into maybe not depressions, but sort of emotional recessions when they've finally completed the big thing. It's
yes.
like, oh, I finally did the big thing. It's like, oh, well, now what do I do now? So I don't know how that fits into the equation exactly. But.
Well, it especially for people who get learn to get the juice of their life from what they do,
Mm-hmm.
then we get caught into oh, I forgot to eat because I get so much juice from doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And we lose that we lose the ability to get the juice from being,
Mm-hmm.
just being. And that's I think a huge dilemma for a lot of people who say I want the life balance, life work balance, but when I'm not working, I'm not getting the juice. And so I got to go back to work. I just got to check emails, something that's going to give me some juice.
Yeah.
And the practice, I think, is, and again, this is just another dilemma that we face, is how do I get the juice from oh yeah, I married this woman, or I married this person, or I have these children because I got juiced about having them in my life, but now I'm not attending to that in such a way that I'm getting juiced by that. So in a sense, it's like the question of how do we do that, and even coming back to developing developing this new part of your work, your business. It's like getting the juice of doing that enough to actually make that happen, because it's
Mm-hmm.
juicy, not because you're afraid it's not going to happen, but because it's juicy enough to keep
Yeah.
it going.
I mean, it's I I tend to think I'm just a more pleasant person to be around when I'm able to really quick glance at my emails. you know,
Yeah.
because what did my email tell me? My email tells me, oh, there's a new customer interested in your product, or somebody has purchased some tickets through your website, or alternately, sometimes like, oh, there's an emergency that popped up your website, because you have the thing on your website that tells you if your website is currently down.
Yes.
And if it's Friday afternoon and the website goes down or whenever, it's like, well, that's a problem I feel like I need to solve right now.
Yes.
So I'm just a night. It's easier I feel like probably it's easier to be around me if I'm able to go, like, just every once in a while go, huh? Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
okay. No emergencies. But sometimes something to be elated by.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's true for so many of us, that it's again, it gives us a sense of identity. It gives us a sense of importance in the world and significance, that I'm attending to something important,
Yeah.
as opposed to whatever it is in front of me, whether it's my friends or family or just a good book, that somehow is not as significant or important as my work, that gives me that juice. So it's just, again, another one of those dilemmas of how do I be me in the fullest expression of me, not only as this business individual, but also as someone who is learning to master this place of work-life balance.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is I feel like you learn by necessity, and you're gonna, or to any aspiring entrepreneurs out there, like, you kind of have to figure it out. Like I figured out that there's just certain times of the week that I block out where I don't have media, where I'm doing something for me, whether it's some sort of exercise or not, or just turning into a vegetable for a while.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Which is important to do that.
Yes, definitely. And so I really appreciate you emphasizing that at some point you're going to learn the value of that balance piece, because it's a necessity. We start out wanting it, like you said, we start out wanting, oh, I'm going to do this business, and so that it helps me have this great life over here. But when we find that it's like this, how can we enjoy it all then that's, you know, where it gets to be challenging. Like, wait, I'm always over here in the business world. My mind, you know, one of my clients, and just delightful human being, would say, I'm constantly wanting to answer the emails from my boss, even though my children want me to read to them, and my wife is waiting for me to make love with her, in a sense. I'm, you know, attending to my boss. And it's like, wow, you know, and it's wow, because I totally get that. You know, I'm attending all the time. I have to watch myself and be mindful of all the things that I'm talking about here on the show about, you know, putting down, turning off the electronics, and being present to whoever is in front of me right now. So, Alex, is there one more thing that you would like viewers and listeners to consider in terms of the dilemmas of being a small business guru from your perspective?
The thing that comes to mind would be that the things that you're most you have the most anxiety about are probably, once you learn to do them, not the hardest things about running a business. You know, like you might go in going, oh, the hardest thing is figuring out what my tax obligations are and how do I make those payments and stuff, you know, or the hardest thing is you choose for yourself. But once you learn to do those things are actually pretty easy, and they just become a matter of course. The hardest thing, you know, in my particular business is personality management, setting expectations, and you know, and being in the world with real people, and the other stuff. Most of that stuff you can learn from YouTube videos. You know, that's how or if you can't learn it from YouTube videos, you know, if it's a complicated website thing, just find that friend.
Right, or hire a coach or a comedy sports team to come support you in making that happen.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd add on to that is it is important to decide what things you want to pay for. I'm the kind of guy who I am willing to pay for convenience, because sometimes my time is more important than the amount of money that this thing costs to just have somebody else do it.
Yeah.
So valuing your time and saying, if it costs me X number of dollars to do this and I could be doing this instead, maybe I should just pay somebody else to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And you're clearer. What you're pointing to is that place of getting clearer about what's mine to do as a specialist versus what I can pay other people to do, because it's what's theirs to do. They're really good at that. And I can pay somebody to have fun doing what they're doing while I'm having fun doing what's mine to do over here.
Right.
So, Alex, tell us again the name of your company and the website where people can find you.
Absolutely. The name of the company is CSZ Seattle. Our website is cszseattle.com. You can follow us on Twitter at CSZ Seattle, Instagram at CSZ Seattle. And our main product is comedy sports. So if you're ever in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle and you want to see a 5-star rated comedy show, come check us out.
I'll be there. Thanks, Alex. And
thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for all of you who are watching and or listening to our program. And we'll be in touch soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.